Commander-elect Taiho's weathered hands gripped the metal railing as he stood before the Colonial Council chamber. The room buzzed with excited whispers from the younger colonists who had gathered to witness what they called the changing of the God 23 years ago. He had arrived on this barren rock with nothing but a broken terraforming ship and a handful of desperate families. Now, the gleaming dome city of New Halcyon stretched for kilometers in every direction, its hydroponic gardens feeding 50,000 souls. Commander Lee, Park Ji-woo's voice cut through the murmur. The young man's pressed uniform and perfect posture screamed of someone who had never felt real hunger or fear. After careful consideration, this council has voted unanimously. Your services as colony administrator are no longer required. Taiho's dark eyes scanned the faces round the curved table. Most were children when he first carried them through airlock doors during the great atmospheric processor failure of 2387. Kim Sora, now 32 and dressed in expensive off-world fabrics, had been just 9 years old when he personally repaired her family's oxygen recycler during the winter crisis. Lee Dongmin, sitting smugly in his councilman's chair, owed his life to Taiho's quick thinking during the asteroid impact that nearly cracked the main habitat dome. Your maintenance schedules are primitive, Sora added, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who had never seen a friend die from equipment failure. We have advanced AI systems now, automated repair drones, quantum processors that can predict failures before they happen. We don't need someone crawling through ventilation shafts with a wrench anymore. The crowd laughed, actual laughter at the man who had kept them breathing for over 2 decades. Taiho remembered crawling through those same vents during the plague outbreak, manually adjusting atmospheric filters when the automated systems failed. He remembered the night shifts, the emergency repairs, the times he went without sleep for days to keep their children safe. The outer colonies are advancing beyond us, Ji-woo continued, pulling up holographic displays of gleaming cities on distant worlds. New Tokyo Prime has fully automated infrastructure. The Europa settlements run entirely on AI management. We're being left behind because we're stuck in the past. The past. Taiho repeated quietly. He thought about the hidden compartments throughout the colony, the ones filled with spare parts and emergency supplies that these youngsters had never discovered. He thought about the secret manufacturing bays where he had been quietly building defense systems for years, using his own savings to purchase materials during supply runs. Yes, the past. So Ra said firmly, "We appreciate everything you've done, Commander, but it's time for a new Halcyon to embrace the future. We've already contacted the Galactic Colonial Authority. They're sending modern administration experts to help us transition to full automation." Taiho almost smiled at that. The GCA bureaucrats had never set foot on a frontier world. They sent reports and recommendations from their comfortable offices on core worlds, never understanding that space was still trying to kill them every single day. He had learned long ago that survival depended on backup plans for your backup plans. "I understand completely," he said, his voice steady and calm. The council members exchanged surprised glances. They had expected arguments, maybe even anger. Instead, the old commander simply nodded. "I'll gather my personal belongings and relocate to Research Station 7, as you've requested." Young technician Choi Min-ho shifted uncomfortably in the back row. Unlike the others, he had worked alongside Taiho during equipment failures. He had seen the commander's hands work miracles with supposedly obsolete technology. "Commander, maybe we could find a different position for you. Advisory role. Perhaps that won't be necessary." Sora cut him off sharply. "The commander has agreed to the transition. Let's not complicate things." As the meeting dissolved into excited chatter about their bright automated future, Taiho walked quietly to his quarters. The corridors he had designed and built by hand seemed to whisper goodbye behind the walls. Hidden conduits carried power and data through networks only he knew about. Beneath the floors, secret storage chambers held enough supplies to sustain the colony through any crisis. He packed slowly, selecting only essential items. His old military medals went into the case, along with photos of the original colonists. Most were gone now, either returned to Earth or buried in the colony's memorial garden. Their children and grandchildren had forgotten the lessons of those early years. From his desk drawer, he retrieved a small device no bigger than his palm. To anyone else, it looked like an ordinary maintenance scanner, but this was the master control unit for systems the colony council didn't even know existed. Every routine inspection over the past decade had been an opportunity to install additional safeguards. Every budget allocation they had questioned had funded technology that could save their lives. As Taiho sealed his belongings, he slipped the device into his jacket pocket. The ungrateful children of New Halcyon were about to learn that the galaxy was far more dangerous than their comfortable lives had taught them. 6 months had passed since Commander Lee Taiho's exile to Research Station 7. A lonely outpost floating in the asteroid belt beyond New Halcyon's main orbital ring. The station's observation deck offered a perfect view of the colony's glittering dome, now running under full AI automation just as the council had wanted. But something wasn't quite right. Choi Minho squinted at his diagnostic tablet as another power fluctuation rippled through the colony's main grid. The lights dimmed for exactly 2.3 seconds before returning to normal brightness. This was the 15th such incident this week. And the AI systems couldn't explain any of them. The quantum processors are working perfectly, he muttered, running his fingers through his hair in frustration. All systems show green across the board, but these fluctuations keep happening. Kim So-ra paced behind him in the control center, her expansive heels clicking against the polished floor. The automated systems had indeed brought progress to New Halcyon, but they had also brought mystery. Equipment would shut down for a maintenance without warning, then restart itself minutes later. Communication rays would realign themselves overnight, pointing toward empty space for no apparent reason. Maybe it's growing pains, suggested Lee Dongmin, though he didn't sound convinced. The AI is still learning our systems. AI doesn't learn by making random adjustments, Minho replied, pulling up another screen full of data. Look at this. Last night, the atmospheric processors ran a complete diagnostic cycle. A full cycle takes 8 hours and uses enormous amounts of power. But according to the logs, it happened in just 12 minutes. So-ra frowned. That's impossible. The old manual diagnostics took Commander Lee 3 days to complete. Exactly. But somehow, every single system in the colony got checked, calibrated, and optimized while we were sleeping. The air quality actually improved by 15% overnight. What none of them realized was that Commander Taiho was watching there. Confusion from his distant station. His screens showed the real picture, a vast network of hidden systems that had been quietly protecting New Halcyon for over 20 years. Every strange fluctuation, every mysterious diagnostic, every unexplained realignment was part of a carefully orchestrated symphony of survival. The power fluctuations weren't malfunctions. They were energy being redirected to charging stations hidden throughout the colony's infrastructure. During each 2.3-second dimming, enough power flowed into concealed battery banks to run emergency life support for a week. The communication rays weren't pointing at empty space. They were maintaining connection with a network of camouflaged satellites that Taiho had been secretly deploying during his routine maintenance trips. "Sir, you need to see this," came a voice from research. Station 7's junior technician, Parky and Sue. She had been helping Taiho catalog asteroid mineral compositions, unaware that he was actually mapping defensive positions throughout the belt. Taiho looked up from his workstation, where holographic displays showed the true scope of his hidden network. Red dots marked concealed weapon platforms, blue lines traced emergency supply routes, green markers indicated automated manufacturing facilities disguised as mining equipment. What is it? Yi and Sue. The long-range sensors are picking up something strange. Deep space monitoring stations are reporting unidentified signals from beyond the outer rim. Could be natural phenomena, but the pattern suggests artificial origin. Taiho's weathered face grew serious. He had been preparing for this possibility for decades. His fingers danced across the control interface, activating sensor networks that the colony didn't even know existed. Hidden listening posts. Throughout, the system began feeding him data that painted a troubling picture. How long until those signals reach our system? He asked quietly. If they're ships traveling at standard hyperspace velocities, maybe 6 months. But, sir, these could just be merchant vessels or scientific expeditions. Taiho shook his head. Merchant ships don't travel information patterns like that, and scientists don't mask their communication signals. Back on New Hanseong, the mysteries continued to multiply. The colony's defensive shield generators, supposedly controlled by the central AI, had begun running power-up sequences every few hours. The weapon systems performed targeting calibrations without being asked. Most disturbing of all, the manufacturing bays were producing components that didn't match any blueprints in the colony's data. The AI is building something, Min-ho reported to the council. I've found storage areas filled with equipment I don't recognize. Advanced alloys, quantum processors, power cores rated for military applications. Military applications. Sora's voice rose in alarm. We're a peaceful mining colony. Why would our systems be building weapons? Maybe they're not our systems, suggested a quiet voice from the back of the room. Old engineer Nam Kyung had worked alongside Commander Taiho during the early years. Unlike the younger colonists, he remembered the brutal realities of frontier life. Maybe the commander left us a few surprises. The room fell silent for months. They had been so focused on their technological advancement that they had forgotten about the man who had made it all possible. The 5 million credits they had criticized as wasteful spending now seemed less like incompetence and more like investment. But investment in what? Hidden in the asteroid belt. Taiho continued his patient work. Every credit of his personal fortune had gone into this moment. 20 years of secret construction, disguised as routine maintenance, weapons platforms that looked like communication relays, manufacturing facilities hidden inside mining operations, an entire fleet of automated defense drones masquerading as cargo shuttles. The ungrateful children of New Hanseong were about to learn that their boring old commander had been playing a much longer game. Even they ever imagined, and judging by the signals approaching from deep space, that game was about to begin in earnest. The morning shift at New Hanseong's control center started like any other, with technicians monitoring the automated systems that had been running the colony for the past 6 months. Choi Min-ho was reviewing overnight diagnostic reports when the long-range sensors suddenly screamed to life, filling the room with urgent warning alarms. What's happening? Kim Sora rushed into the control center, her breakfast still in hand. Massive, hyperspace signatures. Min-ho's fingers flew across his console, trying to make sense of the readings. 3 large objects just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of our system. They're huge. The main display flickered to life, showing 3 enormous warships, unlike anything in human military databases. Each vessel stretched over 2 kilometers in length, their dark hulls bristling with weapon rays and sensor clusters. Strange geometric patterns glowed along their sides. pulsing with an alien energy that made the human observers feel sick. Just looking at it. Are they responding to our standard greeting protocols? Sora asked, though her voice already carried the weight of terrible understanding. Negative. They're jamming all our communication frequencies and moving into attack formation around the colony. Minho's face had gone pale. These aren't merchants or explorers. These are warships. The alien fleet ranged itself in a perfect triangle round New Hanseong, each battle cruiser taking position to cover every possible escape route. Smaller fighter craft swarmed out of their hangar bays like angry insects. Their sleek forms moving with predatory grace through the vacuum of space stopped then. The transmission came. The main screen flickered, displaying a creature that belonged in humanity's worst nightmares. The Vorthan Admiral stood over 3 meters tall, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming like polished obsidian. 6 arms moved independently as he spoke, each ending in razor-sharp claws. His 4 eyes glowed with cold intelligence, and when he smiled, rows of needle-like teeth gleamed in the light. Primitive humans of New Hanseong. His voice was like grinding metal, automatically translated by their communication systems. I am Admiral Krax of the Vorthan Empire. Your pathetic species has been mining resources that belong to us. So Ross stepped forward, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. This system was legally claimed under galactic colonial law. We have documentation from the Interstellar Trade Commission. The alien's laugh was like breaking glass. Your paper means nothing to the Vorthan Empire. We take what we want from inferior species. Surrender your mining rights and prepare to serve. As our labor force, you have exactly 10 minutes to comply. Labor force, Lee Dongmin whispered. They're talking about slavery. Your weapons are primitive. Your defenses are laughable. Admiral Krax continued. We have conquered 17 star systems in the past year alone. Your resistance would be futile and amusing. Sora's hands shook as she tried to activate the colony's defensive systems. Her fingers danced across the control panel, desperately searching for any response from their automated defenses. The shield generators showed offline. The weapon platforms registered as non-functional. Even the basic communication rays were failing to respond. Why isn't anything working? She screamed at Minho. The AI systems are completely locked up. It's like they're ignoring all our commands. Minho pulled up screen after screen of error. Messages. I'm showing total system failure across all defensive networks. The 10-minute deadline was ticking down on every screen in the control center. Outside the dome's transparent walls, colonists were gathering in the streets, pointing at the massive alien warships visible in the sky. Parents held their children close, while others ran toward the emergency shelters that suddenly seemed pathetically inadequate. Contact Commander Lee. Soro ordered desperately. He built these systems. Maybe he can activate them remotely. I'm trying. Minho's voice cracked with panic. The long-range transmitters are completely dead. Every communication system in the colony has been jammed or disabled. The Vorthan fighters were now conducting intimidation runs over the colony's surface, their engines creating sonic booms that shattered windows and terrified the population below. Each pass brought them lower, their weapon systems clearly visible. And ready to fire, Admiral Krax appeared on screen again, his 4 eyes gleaming with cruel satisfaction. 5 minutes remaining. Humans, we can see your defensive systems are as pathetic as expected. When we begin our attack, we will target your life support systems first. Your children will suffocate slowly while you watch. Your monsters. Sora shouted at the screen. We are conquerors. Krax replied coldly. Your species will learn to serve, or you will die. These are the only choices we offer. The massive battle cruisers began charging their primary weapons. Energy built up along their hulls, creating a light show that would have been beautiful if it wasn't so terrifying. Each ship was capable of cracking a planet's crust with a single shot. And they were preparing to use that power on new Halcyons. Fragile dome cities, 3 minutes, announced the alien admiral. Begin evacuation procedures if you wish, though there is nowhere to run in the vacuum of space. Families were now streaming toward the emergency shelters, but everyone knew those. Underground bunkers wouldn't protect them from orbital bombardment. 50,000 people were about to become slaves or corpses, and their own advanced AI systems had failed them completely when they needed them most. The countdown reached 60 seconds. Vorthan energy weapons were now fully charged. Their targeting systems locked onto critical infrastructure points throughout the colony. Admiral Krax raised one of his clawed hands, preparing to give the order that would reduce humanity's greatest achievement in this sector to burning rubble. Then, in the deepest moment of despair, something impossible happened. Every screen in the control center flickered, and a familiar voice filled the air with calm authority. The first Vorthan energy beam struck New Halcyon's outer industrial sector, vaporizing 3 manufacturing plants in a brilliant flash of superheated plasma. The shockwave rattled through the colony's dome structure, throwing people to the ground and shattering windows across entire districts. Children screamed as their parents pulled them toward the emergency shelters, but everyone knew those underground bunkers wouldn't save them from orbital bombardment. Kim Soror gripped her control console as another explosion lit up the sky. This one closer to the residential areas. The alien warships were methodically targeting critical infrastructure, preparing to cripple the colony before demanding surrender. Admiral Krax's cruel laughter echoed through the jammed communication channels as his forces began their systematic destruction. Shields are still down. Choi Minho screamed over the noise of another nearby impact. Weapons offline. We can't even send a distress signal. That's when every speaker in New Halcyon crackled to life with a voice they all recognized, but hadn't heard in months. Citizens of New Halcyon, this is Commander Lee Taiho. Defensive Protocol Halcyon is now active. The words hit the control center like a thunderbolt. Soror spun around, staring at the communication panels that had been dead just seconds before. That's impossible. How is he broadcasting? We can't even contact the outer stations. Her question was answered immediately as hidden panels across the colony's surface began sliding open with mechanic precision. Where there had been smooth dome plating and decorative gardens, massive weapon turrets rose from concealed positions. Plasma cannons emerged from beneath the main plaza. Missile launchers unfolded from what everyone had thought were recycling stations. What in the galaxy? Minho whispered, watching his displays light up with systems he had never seen before. The broken communication rays that had been running mysterious diagnostics for months suddenly blazed to life with coordinated signals. They weren't broken at all. They were connecting with hidden installations throughout the entire star system, every research station, every mining outpost. Every obsolete satellite was now revealing its true purpose. Research Station 7, where Taiho had been exiled, transformed before their eyes. Its simple observation domes retracted, revealing advanced sensories and weapon platforms. The asteroid mining equipment they had all seen during supply runs suddenly reconfigured itself into Massey. V-railgun installations, even the communication relay satellites were shedding their disguises, exposing military-grade targeting systems and defensive screens. Impossible, Soror breathed, watching her tactical display fill with defensive positions she never knew existed. The budget records, those weren't maintenance expenses. 23 years of construction. Taiho's voice continued calmly over the speakers. Every routine maintenance trip, every questioned expense, every piece of equipment you thought was outdated. I've been preparing for this day since we first arrived. The Vorthan Admiral Krax noticed the transformation immediately. His eyes widened as his ship's sensors detected the massive energy signatures now appearing throughout the system. What had seemed like a helpless human colony was suddenly bristling with advanced weaponry. "This is impossible," Krax snarled. Into his communication system, our intelligence showed primitive defenses, basic mining equipment. His answer came in the form of a perfectly coordinated barrage from 12 different positions. The hidden rail guns fired simultaneously, their projectiles traveling at a significant fraction of light speed, the Vorthan shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were completely unprepared for a solid matter moving at such velocity. The first battle cruiser's port shield generator exploded in a shower of sparks and alien metal. Emergency klaxons wailed through the massive ship as its crew scrambled to understand how humans had penetrated their supposedly impenetrable defenses. All units, focus fire on the weapon platforms. Krax ordered, but his targeting systems couldn't. Lock onto installations that officially didn't exist. Every time his gunners thought they had identified a human position, it would disappear behind holographic camouflage or retract into hidden bunkers. From his command center on Research Station 7, Taiho watched the battle unfold across dozens of displays. His weathered hands moved with practiced efficiency, coordinating a defense network that spanned the entire star system. Every installation responded to his commands with clockwork precision. Asteroid Belt Defense Grid. Tagada, lead cruiser's engine section. He spoke into his headset. Mining platform Delta 7. Prepare torpedo spread. Communication relay stations. Maintain jamming of their fleet coordination signals back in New Halcyon's control center. Sora watched in amazement as systems she had never known existed came online one by one. The colony's true defensive network was like nothing in human military databases. Weapon platforms that could punch through heavy armor. Shield generators powerful enough to protect entire city districts. Manufacturing facilities that were already producing ammunition and replacement parts. The 5 million credits, Minho realized suddenly, Commander Lee's personal savings. He spent his entire fortune building this, not just his savings. So Rock reacted, reviewing the financial records with no understanding. Every budget allocation we questioned, every maintenance expense we thought was wasteful. He was using colony funds to buy materials, then adding his own money to turn basic supplies into military hardware. The second Vorthan battle cruiser tried to retreat, but found its escape route blocked by what had appeared to be simple communication satellites. These revealed themselves as sophisticated mine layers, filling space with explosive devices that could track and pursue fleeing vessels. Admiral Krax's cruel confidence was rapidly turning to panic as his supposedly superior technology proved useless against human ingenuity and preparation. The primitive species he had planned to enslave was fighting back with weapons and tactics his empire had never encountered. How did they hide all of this? He demanded of his science officer. "Sir, their defensive installations use completely different principles than our technology. They're not energy-based like our weapons. They're using kinetic projectiles, chemical explosives, and electromagnetic warfare. Our sensors weren't designed to detect such primitive methods." The irony wasn't lost on Taiho as he coordinated the continuing battle. The aliens' advanced technology was their weakness. They had become so dependent on energy shields and plasma weapons that they had forgotten the brutal effectiveness of simple physics and human determination. Admiral Krax's eyes darted frantically across his bridge displays as another rail gun projectile tore through his flagship's starboard hull. The Vorthan Empire had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had never faced anything like this. What appeared to be simple mining equipment was systematically destroying his fleet with weapons that shouldn't exist. Evasive maneuvers. He screamed at his pilot, But space around New Halcyon had become a deadly maze. Every asteroid they tried to hide behind revealed hidden weapon platforms. Every escape route was blocked by cloaked missile launchers that activated the moment his ships approached. From Research Station 7, Commander Taiho watched the battle unfold with quiet satisfaction. His fingers moved across holographic displays, coordinating attacks from installations spread across millions of kilometers. 23 years of careful planning were finally paying off. Asteroid Mining Platform 12. Target the wounded cruisers. Shield generators. He spoke calmly into his headset. Communication Relay Station 4. Prepare quantum torpedo spread. All units. Maintain crossfire pattern Delta 7. The second Vorthan battle cruiser tried to break through the human defensive line, its massive engines glowing with desperate power. But the moment it accelerated, hidden sensors throughout the asteroid belt tracked its movement. What looked like ordinary space debris suddenly came alive with purpose. Dozens of camouflage mines, each no bigger than a cargo container, detached themselves from asteroids and began pursuing the fleeing warship. Their simple chemical propulsion systems couldn't match the alien ship's speed, but they didn't need to. They were smart mines programmed to predict flight paths and position themselves for maximum damage. The first mine struck the battle cruiser's port engine, creating a chain reaction that rippled through the ship's power grid. Emergency lighting flickered on as the massive vessel began listing to one side, its crew struggling to maintain life support while under constant bombardment from human railguns. "Sir, we're detecting massive structural failure in the lead cruiser," reported Park Yi and Sue from her sensor station. "Their shield generators are offline and atmosphere is venting from multiple hull breaches." Back in New Halcyon's control center, Kim Sora watched in amazement as the true scope of Taiho's network revealed itself. Manufacturing facilities that had masqueraded as simple ore processors were now producing ammunition at an incredible rate. Automated cargo shuttles, which everyone had assumed were for moving mining equipment, were actually resupply drones keeping the weapon platforms fed with fresh projectiles. "Look at this," Choi Min-ho called out, pointing to his tactical display. "Every single installation in our system is connected. The communication relays, the mining platforms, even the emergency beacons. They're all part of one massive defense grid." The third Vorthan battle cruiser, commanded by Admiral Krax himself, attempted a desperate gambit. Instead of retreating, it charged directly toward New Halcyon's main dome, intending to use the civilian population as hostages. But Taiho had anticipated this move decades ago. Colony Defense System Alpha. Full activation. His voice echoed through every speaker. On New Halcyon, the colony's dome itself transformed. What had appeared to be decorative panels and artistic structures revealed their true nature as the most advanced point defense network in human space. Thousands of small turrets emerged from the dome's surface, creating an impenetrable wall of intercepting fire. Every missile, every energy beam, every attack the aliens could launch was met and neutralized before it could reach the civilian population. "This is impossible," Admiral Krax roared as his ship's weapons proved completely ineffective against the colonies. Defenses? How did a primitive species develop such technology? His answer came in the form of Commander Taiho's calm voice, broadcast across all frequencies so every Vorthan in the system could hear. "This is why the galaxy respects humanity," Taiho announced as another alien fighter exploded under the crossfire from hidden platforms. "We don't just survive in hostile environments. We don't just adapt to new challenges. We prepare for threats that haven't even appeared yet." A massive explosion lit up space as the second battle cruiser's reactor core finally gave way under the sustained bombardment. The shockwave was visible even from New Halcyon's surface, a brilliant flash that marked the destruction of a warship that had terrorized 17 star systems. Admiral Krax realized his situation was hopeless. His fleet was trapped in a kill zone that had been decades in the making. Every move they attempted was countered by weapon systems that seemed to predict their tactics. Human ingenuity had turned their surprise attack into a complete disaster. All ships. Emergency retreat. He ordered desperately. Jump to hyperspace immediately. But even retreat proved dangerous. The human defense network had been mining hyperspace jump points for months, placing gravitational disruptors at key locations. Tevorthan destroyers attempting emergency jumps found themselves pulled off course, emerging from hyperspace directly into the firing arcs of concealed weapon platforms. Only Admiral Krax's flagship and 3 smaller escort vessels managed to escape the system, their hull scarred and their crews demoralized. The mighty Vorthan Empire, which had conquered dozens of worlds, had been utterly defeated by a single human colony. As the last alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, silence fell over New Hanseong, in the control center. So-Ra stared at the tactical displays showing the debris field that had once been an invasion. Fleet. Her hands shook as the full realization hit her. We exiled him, she whispered to the empty air. We called him outdated and primitive, but he never stopped protecting us from his distant station. Commander Taiho smiled as he began shutting down the active weapon systems. The battle was over. But his work was far from finished. Already his mind was planning the next layer of defenses, considering new threats that might emerge from the vast darkness of space. System status report. He requested calmly. All defensive installations operational. Commander, came Yi-Ensu's reply. Minimal damage to secondary platforms. Production facilities are already manufacturing replacement components. Taiho nodded, satisfied but not complacent. The Vorthan Empire would spread word of their defeat, and other hostile species would take notice. But that was fine. Humanity's children would always be safe under his watch, whether they appreciated it or not. The ungrateful colony had learned that their greatest protector had never stopped loving them, even when they had stopped loving him. The